Many of us have contact with the oceans, often in the summer, and we look out and they look pristine and innocent very often. But that's really changing. And let me share with you 4 images which will suggest what's happening. This first image shows underwater noise from emissions from ship. Noise, of course, is how animals communicate in the oceans. It's hard to see in the ocean, but sound is like light in the ocean. And you see the extent of shipping, which now covers most of the oceans. So you really have to go to a few areas of the South Pacific or remote areas between Australia and Madagascar to get quiet oceans these days. So shipping is wonderful. It's how we get goods around the world, but every vessel, whether it's a freighter, a tanker, a ferry, Carnival Cruise Lines, also is adding sound to the oceans and changing the acoustic environment and in other ways, the environment for the animals. The second slide. I've mentioned communications. We think when we talk in our cell phones that we're talking through satellites, but we're actually talking along the seafloor. In the last 30 years, hundreds of thousands of kilometers of cables have been laid across the oceans and along the coast, trenching and then burying the cables sometimes leaving them exposed. So lots and lots of disturbance of the seafloor. And more to come, of course. So this is the world of Google and Amazon. It's also how we shop. It's what the internet relies on. Now, the third slide, fishing. In green, you see the fished areas of the oceans. It's not just surf casting from the Jersey Shore or from near to the coast in Florida. Fishing basically goes on everywhere except where it's forbidden. The white areas are areas which are parks in the oceans, marine protected areas, which have limited exploitation of the sea life there. And one more slide, aquaculture. If you eat oysters in Hong Kong, they're coming from a farm, a set of farms like this. This is oyster farming near Fuzhou, across from Taiwan. And there's more and more aquaculture, whether in Chile or Norway or Maine or British Columbia. And so the coastlines also are becoming, there are lots of pens. And of course, people love seafood or sea life. And in many ways, it's a superior alternative to meat from land, but it's also part of this industrialization. And of course, we know about offshore oil and gas, and now there are thousands of windmills being put offshore. The European community alone plans to add 300 gigawatts of wind, which would require a surface area of 100,000 square kilometers of ocean, about 2/3 the surface area of Great Britain and Ireland, just for wind farms for Western Europe. So we're just beginning to grasp the massive industrialization of the oceans now underway on the surface, in the water column, and on the seafloor. And there are all these forms of pollution, the debris, the plastics, oil and chemical spills, runoff of fertilizers, pesticides, sewage, pharmaceuticals, all the waste from COVID, and all the unmetabolized cocaine or fentanyl. It all ends up in the ocean. Construction debris, spoils from dredging. So we have this an abandoned and discarded equipment. So I estimate there are now 50 million large objects in the ocean, and there'll be 100 million probably by the year 2050. So we need better descriptions of the oceans, what's there. If we want to be able to assess before, during, and after, we have to do the before and the during. And most of my career has been about doing thick description of the world as it really is, which isn't easy in the vastness of the ocean, the depths, the darkness, the movement, and so forth. And so it's been fantastic, technologically thrilling, as several of the speakers have said, incredible progress of science. At the same time, watching this world around us change. But my hope is that we can put in place a system of observation of the oceans, a global ocean observation system, much more like what we have for the atmosphere, where satellites and other devices tell us in real time through the weather services and through the Weather Channel and so forth, what's happening, how things are changing. And so that challenge is what I've been working on and hope to continue working on for quite a few more years to come.